Good afternoon, everybody. Meteorologist Frank Gaetano here live from the Hail Palace for our daily hail and wind forecast. As always, sponsored by C3 Group, Merlin Law Group, and the American Contractor Show. Make sure you check those guys out in the description to this video. We currently have a risk ongoing along the East Coast. We got severe winds, tornado chances. So there's a front that's pushing off the coast. We have that risk going on right now. And then we also have a risk in the northern plains for later this afternoon into this evening. And then we got more storms coming for you tomorrow. And we have 3 separate areas that we're going to watch for wind and possibly some hail chances. And then we're going to get into looking at this Memorial Day weekend. It does look like there's probably going to be a decent severe weather risk on Sunday and on Monday, so we'll get into that towards the end of the video. But first, as usual, we got to go over the events we have coming up. We have the Florida Roofing and Sheet Metal Expo. That's going to be in Daytona Beach from July 19th through the 22nd. I guess they're celebrating 100 years of the FRSA, so this is going to be a pretty big event. Again, that's July 19th through the 22nd in Daytona Beach. And then we've talked about this for several days now, the NTRCA Not So Mini Trade Show that's going to be down in Grapevine, Texas at the Grapevine Convention Center. That's going to be on June 8th, so make sure you come out and see us there. Let's take a quick look at yesterday's storm reports. We had a decent amount of wind through the southeast and the mid-Atlantic states, and some more wind coming in through Kentucky up into southern Ohio. A couple tornado reports, one up in northern Illinois and one in western Indiana. And then we got a couple of hail reports that were sprinkled in there as well. A decent severe weather day, but not too big for hail, mainly for wind on that one. Current conditions across the country, clear over the central part of the country, and we see this low just spanning out here in the Ohio Valley, and that's what's producing storms along the East Coast right now, as we do see this line of storms pushing off the coast. We have a tornado watch in effect, so that's pushing through the Washington, D.C. area right now, so I'd expect to be seeing some decent winds out of that. And then we do expect some redevelopment and portions of the areas behind this line later this afternoon, getting risks behind the line as well. So we'll have to see how that pans out for the rest of the day. And then we'll come up here to the northern plains. We do see a little bit of clearing going on here. This is going to be the focus for storms today up through southern Montana into Wyoming, and it's going to be pushing eastward into the South Dakota area later today. We do have a nice swath of warm air across the central part of the country where we did see those clear conditions and no clouds, and we see the cooler temperatures right where that low pressure center is, and then typical for May in the upper 80s down in Texas. We're going to take a look at the dew points here. Dry out west, and we got good moisture going on across the east, and we see where this line is right here as that's pushing off the coast. Some nice high dew points in the upper 60s across the east coast, and that's giving good fuel for those storms for producing those strong winds and possibly tornadoes with that activity as well. So we're going to take a look at the future radar, and like I said, this is going to be pushing off the coast, and then we do expect some redevelopment to occur back to the west behind it, giving places like Raleigh a chance for more storms later today, and then again through Virginia and up into the Washington, D.C. area and into the northeast up into Philadelphia, New York City, and then that stuff is going to go, that risk is going to kind of taper off towards we get to the late evening, towards like midnight or so. So we do expect some redevelopment to occur there, and we're going to head up to the west for the risk in the northern plains. Let's let this play through. We do see storms developing later this afternoon between 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the Billings area. This isn't really showing much here in northern Wyoming, but I do expect to see a couple of cells up that way, and then that's going to work its way eastward into the evening and then kind of line out and not be really severe anymore once we get into the later evening hours, 9, 10 o'clock. It's just going to be some rain moving through the Bismarck area, and we'll let that play out going to 7 a.m. tomorrow. So forecast max hail size for today, like I said, mainly a wind risk. I'm going with $quarter to $half size hail as our max hail size. That's mainly going to be stuff that happens on the cellular portion of the East Coast for those discrete supercells, and then up in the northern plains if we can get a good rotation and updraft on one of those cells as well. So let's take a look at what that looks like graphically for our hail forecast. We're going to zoom in here to the East Coast first. Like I said, low risk across the board, pretty low risk for Raleigh. You're going to have to rely on that secondary run of storms. Same thing for Richmond, and then up through the DC and Baltimore area. And then Scranton, Philadelphia, and New York, you're also part of that risk, but it's going to be a pretty low chance for hail up to about quarter size. And then we'll work our way out to the west. And again, low chances, mainly a wind risk again. So low chance for Billings and a low chance for Rapid City. Our better chances are going to be for the wind risk today. So you have, again, those two areas. We're going to zoom back in to the East Coast. This line is moving off the coast right now, but it is, if we get further east, we're looking for better chances for places like Virginia Beach and then Philadelphia as well. Low chances for Charleston, and then I'm keeping low chances for Raleigh. We're going to have to rely on that second round of storms to come through, and we're going to work our way up to the north here. We do have tornadoes possible with this stuff as well. A low chance for DC, I just said. Moderate chance for Philadelphia and places like New York City, and then a low chance for Albany. Not a lot of instability up the further north you get up into New York, so we're not really looking at a great chance for storms to be impacting places like Albany. Heading back out west, again, pretty marginal risk. It does come back a little further to the west, so Pocatello, Idaho, you are included in the wind risk for today. And again, places like Billings and what just happened?
I don't know. It just stopped.
I'll go back. Right-click that. Full screen projector preview. And 3. It's back. Yeah. Sorry about that, folks. Had a little technical issue there with the computer. It just kind of switched where our source came from. So let's get back into it. A low chance for Billings, and again, a low chance for Rapid City, though I do believe Rapid City has the best chance of seeing wind out of those 3 cities. So we're going to jump into tomorrow. Here's what the future radar is looking like for the East Coast tomorrow. Up in the Northeast, we do expect a line of storms to develop in the early afternoon and work its way towards the southeast, bringing potential for 5 to 10% chance of gusty winds with those storms up to about 60 miles per hour. And that's going to work its way off the coast through the late afternoon and into the early evening hours. So anywhere from northern Connecticut up through Bangor, Maine, you're going to be in a risk for severe wind gusts with those storms. And we'll let that play through, and then we'll head out west for our next radar here. This is going to be in the northern plains. So we expect storms to develop around 5 p.m. in places like North Platte, working your way northwestward up towards Rapid City. And I do expect them to be supercellular at the onset in discrete supercells. So we could see some hail activity with this, but the main risk for tomorrow up in the northern plains is going to be wind, specifically in the central part of South Dakota, where the dynamics are in place for potentially significant wind gusts in excess of 80 miles per hour with any storm that can get those good downdrafts moving through there. As we get towards the late night hours and the overnight hours, a couple cells might be lingering around the Sioux City area up through, I believe that would be Watertown area, I think, of South Dakota. So we'll have to see how that plays out in the late evening and overnight hours as well. Now we have one more of a conditional risk. This is going to be in the panhandle of Texas, down through western Texas and into western Oklahoma. We see the future radar picking up on a couple of cells popping off here. We got to break the cap, and we got to see where those cells actually pop up when and if the cap breaks. But places like Lubbock and Amarillo is a little too far west for this risk, I think. So I don't really see storms popping off in Amarillo tomorrow. But like I said, a bit of a conditional risk for the Texas Panhandle and western Texas. So what's that going to look like for us in terms of our hail swaths? Well, we got the 2 areas for hail. The East Coast, not going to be really a hail risk with that. So we're just talking about these 2 areas for hail. Like I said earlier, we do expect some supercellular development at the onset of these storms. So places like North Platte and anywhere in northwestern Nebraska, where those isolated supercells do form in the afternoon hours, you're going to have a chance for up to golf ball size hail with those. And then as they work their way towards the east and northeast, that the hail size is going to come down as those storms are expected to kind of band up and become mainly wind producers. So we do have a low chance for Casper, Rapid City, Pierre, South Dakota, and Sioux City. If those storms can make it to you, you have a low chance for hail up to $half size and a moderate chance for North Platte to get hail up to golf ball size. And we're going to take a look at our conditional risk down to the south, a low chance for Lubbock and a low chance for Elk City. It's really going to depend if the cap can break and where those storms actually go up. But if they do, there's going to be some decent instability available, so hail up to golf ball size will be possible with those storms, and they're probably going to die off just after sunset, so we're talking 9 o'clock is your latest chance for getting those storms in that area. Hopping into our wind forecast, we're going to head out to the east first and take a look at that northeast risk. Places like Portland and Boston, and like I mentioned earlier, Bangor, Maine, you're going to have a decent shot at seeing those winds as that line works its way to the southeast throughout the afternoon and into the early evening hours. Going into tomorrow's wind forecast for the northern plains, like I said, central South Dakota, that's where our biggest risk is going to be. So there's not really too much out there. I know Pierre, South Dakota is there in south central South Dakota, so I marked them as a moderate chance for those wind gusts in excess of 80 miles per hour with any of those storms that can really get going through the evening hours as those storms trek eastward across the area. But a low risk for Rapid City, low risk for North Platte, and a low risk for Sioux City. And take a look at our conditional risk. Again, a low risk for Lubbock and a low risk for Elk City. So what's going to happen after that as we get into Sunday and Monday? Well, let's take a look at what the jet stream is currently doing. This is our system that's moving off the coast, and we have this other system out west. It's going to be coming in to the western part of the country. And if you look right here, we have this little shortwave trough, this little wiggle. That's going to be an impulse to trigger off storms today and tomorrow as we move forward through here. So that storm's going to come off the coast, and we see the trough digging out west, and we do see another little wiggle here, and we see divergence aloft. That's going to promote storm development as well as we get into tomorrow evening, where I show you that risk in the northern plains. And so we're going to move into Sunday here, and that risk is going to not really move too much to the east. So I'm expecting a risk to be kind of in a similar area, but just slightly off to the east and expanding that way. So Minneapolis will be included in that risk, and then possibly areas further south. And then we're going to hop into Monday here, and then things just kind of wonky with this trough. It broadens, it's not really moving, but we do see these little wiggles, those little shortwave troughs along the base of this trough, and those are going to promote storm development for Memorial Day in a pretty wide area and elongated area from the northern part of the upper Midwest all the way down through potentially southern Kansas and northern Oklahoma, as this trough continues to try to move eastward very slowly, but had these little shortwave troughs digging around the base of that trough. And we'll let this play out through Tuesday, and things get even wonkier as we move into Tuesday. So we'll kind of have to see how Monday plays out before we can actually talk about what's going to happen Tuesday. It's one of those scenarios where you got to wait for one risk to happen before you really know what's going to happen with the next risk. So this is the area I'm looking at for Sunday. Pretty wide area in the northern plains into the upper Midwest. Minneapolis is included. Omaha is included in the risk right now. Bismarck, you're right on the edge. Same thing with Rapid City. This is what I'm expecting right now for Sunday. We'll have to see how that plays out. And then for your Memorial Day, like I just mentioned, it's more of an elongated risk going up into the upper Midwest and down through the central and potentially southern plains, getting into portions of northern Oklahoma. But that's how your Memorial Day looks right now. We'll have to see what actually happens. Hopefully you guys can still go out, have some fun, and be with your family and think about veterans who've lost their lives. And so let's remember what Memorial Day is really about. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and we have a TikTok as well. And if you want to get in contact with us, you can call us at 855-334-4245, email us at info@hailtrace.com, or go straight to our website at hailtrace.com. In the lower right-hand corner of the screen, there's a little chat box. You can get in contact with our customer service representatives. But for now, I'm Frank Gaetano. Everybody have a great rest of your Friday and enjoy Memorial Day weekend.